Hello and welcome everyone back to a brand new video. Now today we finally got our first look at Ride 5 gameplay. We have a trailer from Milestone, so I've yet to watch it. I've just clicked on it, paused it here. I've yet to play it through. I don't know what is about to be played, so we're going to watch it through together. I'm probably going to just make a few comments, my first thoughts of what I'm seeing as I play it through. And I'll probably watch it back a couple of times, just a bit maybe half speed and try and pick out a few things. But yeah, let's jump straight in without any more nonsense.
3.
So the first clip is a classic superbike on board at Suzuka. So graphically looks good. I remember Hemicam being one of the better things in Ride 4. Looks pretty decent. To be honest, looks like Ride 4 with some UI upgrades, if I'm being honest so far. This is Blue Wave Circuit, so I believe this is one of their new in-house circuits they've made. We see some clips of this in the trailer. This looks pretty cool. Oh, so already it looks like the ride animation hasn't changed. I'll cover that later in a second, but that is one big issue I have already. This is a cool looking track though. I'll give them props to this, their design. As a long time viewer will know, I love the aesthetic of an off track, like the trees, mountain range. This is pretty cool. Looks like a fast and flowing circuit too. I believe we're on a speed triple Triumph, so this looks like a cool little track. Blue Wave, so again, like I said, in-house track they've made themselves. It's a nice lens flare on screen. So overall, graphically so far, I must say I'm not too disappointed. It looks pretty good, but I've never really had an issue, to be honest, since they've gone to the Unreal Engine with their graphics. That's probably one of their strong points. So we're here at Autopolis, a track released, I think this is the first year it's in the game, Japan 1990s track, opened in 1990. We are on an M1000RR. So straight away, the bike just looks a bit floaty to me. Massive trait of Milestone's games forever, really. If you watch, look at the back wheel as he gets on and off throttle, look how much it moves. It's just not realistic, it's not attached to the ground. And audio isn't great, but it is what it is, really. Again, I'll go through more detail in these thoughts in a second, but again, graphically, I can't say anything bad about the game. Rain looks quite good, looks quite realistic. Just, the bike looks ever too bouncy and not attached to the ground. And I'm, again, pretty disappointed, unfortunately, with the audio. So that is the end of it. It's 2.5 minutes long, yeah, so we're going to go back to it. I'm going to mute it. I'm going to play it at half speed. So I'm going to go to 0.5 and just play through it. And I'll see if I can pick things out a bit more. So, Suzuka Circuit, some new branding. Again, this track is not the first time it's been in the game. We have a new UI down here on the bottom right. Again, modernized. This all looks identical to Ride 4, if I'm honest. Shows again that we have the day and night cycle, so this is 6 in the morning. So we have some classic Ducatis. I believe there is an RSV 1000 up here somewhere in a second, I believe I see. Now the issue I have with the rider animation, I'll try and show it in this clip, but the first person camera isn't as bad. It's much better than the MotoGP games. So watch him there now. Watch the bottom half of his body here. See the way he's connected with, say, his spine is there? Look where his helmet is. His body will change direction as he's on F4RR. He changes his body direction much faster than his head movement. And as any of you who's ever ridden a bike in real life, you're always taught, look where you want to go. So your head is the first thing that moves when you're changing direction. So watch the way the body, see the way the body comes back. His head is still there, but the body's leaning off. It looks wrong to me. It's a big issue I had with Ride 4. It was probably one of the only issues at launch I had with Ride 4. It looks like what we've seen from the MotoGP side, the gear changings, the foot being a bit more lifelike and showing a bit more, it's more emphasized on their changing gear. That looks like it's been brought into this game as well. There was the Aprilia at the end. Now this one here, again, you'll see more of the rider animation thing where he changes direction, his body changes direction. See here now, it isn't too bad because he's not changing direction quickly, he's going into a braking zone. This track, massive props, and looks pretty cool. Looks like there's multiple layouts again, as it looks like we went across a white line. But again, just look how much, just rewind that, watch just here now. As look, when he gets on the throttle, do we have telemetry known anywhere? We don't. But you can just see how much it just slides out so much. And for a street bike on what I believe are potentially road tires, the movement is just a bit too unrealistic. So again, we have some footage here of the change of direction. Just try and capture it. So again, you see his body is here. He moves his body kind of like shoulder and hips first, and then head follows, which is a bit perplexing. We'll watch it through. So in slow-mo, it doesn't look as bad. But when you're changing direction high speed, it just doesn't look right. Unfortunately, it's an issue I really had from Ride 4. Maybe even Ride 3. It's one of those kind of things that don't look great. So one thing coming into the trailer, that was the one thing I was looking out for. To be honest, it doesn't look physics-wise much different to Ride 4. Again, as soon as he gets on the throttle, the bike massively rotates, showing that the rear end is a bit floaty. Bike is locking up and moving around so much here in slow-mo. You can just see how much the bike is moving. Again, the left foot doing the gear changing looks a lot better, much more lifelike. Whether it's actually realistic or not, I don't know, because it's hard to see in this footage. We'll see here now. Does he like kind of break his ankle in the animation? So no, he gets his foot under the lever nicely. So yeah, I must say that is pretty tidy. Give him props on that. So far I'm split kind of 50-50. It is there's been some improvements, but there's just a few things that maybe now that in the full release it might be changed. But I've been covering these games for long enough to know that when they say work in progress, it's pretty much what we're going to get now. It's still a long way from launch, so maybe I'm wrong, but I hope I am wrong. Again, drifting it in there, there's nothing wrong with that because he's back shifting, the bike's going a bit light. Again, ankle looking alright, doesn't look like he breaks his ankle, it's just a bit kind of nervy and shaky, a trait that it looks like it's carried over from Ride 4. But I must say, this track, it looks so good. And how many times I've said it, but I keep harping on about it. But that looks pretty decent, I must say, so far. Now, the last track, Autopolis, In the Rain, where it seemed to be in some sort of like, maybe it's staying easy or it's just a unbranded, blacked out suit. Bike models look good. The rain on the screen looks decent. The rider who's playing is a bit unsure where he's going, because as you see where the rider in-game, he keeps putting it in out in his leg. So he puts it out, puts it in, and that just shows that the rider's on and off the front brake. Again, the presentation of the game looks pretty good. I like the new rev counter. The dash looks decent. I like the way it intertwines in with the ECU settings, the tire pressure and all, or the tire wearing and what tires and temperatures. That looks pretty decent. They have a bit of the V4R Ducati going on, where if you watch where the rev counter hits a certain number, that number will grow in size. So that looks good. The rider animation is killing me though. I hate the fact that hasn't been changed, but I'm going to stay hopeful. Yeah, I don't want to say it's Ride 4 reskinned or a new UI on Ride 4 with a few features, but it really does look that way to me. Just the whole bike reactions and the way the bike is seemingly reacting, and especially the audio. I'm going to play it through again the third time, and we'll actually just listen to audio and see can I hear anything out of the ordinary. But so far I must say it looks like maybe Ride 4.5, if that's fair to say. Again, work in progress, it might change, but from my experience over the last 10 years of playing these games, when you get a work in progress video, what you get at release isn't a million miles off it. And big things like this, like the rider animation and the rear end looking way too light, that sort of stuff doesn't really change. So overall, not looking too bad. I am looking forward to get my hands on this, because I really enjoyed Ride 4 on Xbox, and when I moved to PC, bought it again on PC, and it never really got back into the groove for me. So you can see Unreal Engine, it's a Milestone game, Epic Store, Steam, Xbox and PlayStation. So no mention of the Switch yet. I do imagine, as always, they'll release it a couple of months or a couple of weeks afterwards. So I'm going to play it through full volume. I'm going back to full speed, and we're going to just listen for most part of this one. I'm going to just listen out for any audio changes I've heard. So far, I'll just turn down touch and leave it play behind me. The big issue I have at the moment, right, is they're just a bit flat. The bike should, like, currently we're doing 9,000 RPM. The bike doesn't sound like it's above 2.5. It just doesn't have that grunt, which is something I'd much like them to see implemented. You can tell which is a Triumph, which is a twin, which is a V4 inline 4. You can distinguish the engine, so they have the engine tone right. It's just not aggressive enough. Like, we're at 11,000 RPM here, but it doesn't really sound like it is. It's just too flat in the upper revs. It doesn't give it enough. There's not enough thump to it. There's not enough roar to it. It doesn't scream like it should when you're in higher RPM, when the engine's going that fast and there's that much movement and there's that much power and energy coming out of it. There should be a lot more audio clicks that make it sound like you are riding. Like, just listen to this here in a second. So wait till you guess. Oh, I go back too far or go forward? No, go here again. So we're at 8,000 RPM. Just listen. It sounds like he's on idle. That's 8,000 RPM. If this is the triple, 3 triple, that will be properly screaming its nuts off at 8,000, 8,500 RPM. Not boom. It's just distinguish between the low RPM and the max revving out RPM. There's just not enough in between. The audio isn't bad. It's just not beefed up enough for me at the moment. It gets there towards the end of the revs, but I feel like the audio we're hearing here should be about there, and there should be a lot more to the levels, but unfortunately we don't get that. Again, it does sound like a triple, I'll give them that. They have got the engine type right. I just don't get that roar, and this one just sounds wrong to me. It doesn't sound like an M1000RR, to be honest. You can hear it all right, in fairness. I'll give them, it sounds like when it's up at 13, 14, 15,000 RPM, it does sound a bit kind of high pitched and screamy, as if it's going ridiculously quick for the engine. It just doesn't get across the crackles, the burbles, all the throatiness of a 4-cylinder. So it's just a bit kind of whiny, bit of a scooter noise. It's not great. The inline 4 is always in right forward the worst sounding compared to the V's. I think when you add an engine tone that has a bit of thump to it, they can kind of mask some of the issues they have. Now this one usually sounds the best, the R1M, or the R1 in this case, because it gives that crossplane, and to be fair, they do get this pretty good. Now it never is aggressive enough or loud enough, and it's easy for me to say loud enough, and you can say, why don't you turn up the game? It's not what I mean. It just isn't roaring at you. Like a bike engine, even idle, is pretty loud. And the fact that these guys are at 14,000 RPM and I can just hear a few bikes in a row, this should be absolutely blithering your ears to the point where we have to turn around the game. And there's just a few things that I'm probably overly picky. I've gotten a lot of hate in my last few videos that I only like GP bikes, and I only like that one bike game from 20 years ago. To be honest, I'm probably a bit on the I'll play it through one more time as I finish off talking. I'll just turn down. I'm probably on the bit more the critical side with most games. My feedback for the Isle of Man game, people didn't like that I was all critical with a lot of issues. I love sim racing. Unfortunately for me, sim racing usually means going playing with a wheel on 4 wheels, and these games are just slightly too much arcade for me, and I want them to be the most realistic simulation games as possible. I know, unfortunately, I'm not going to get that anytime soon, but this doesn't look bad. I loved Ride 4 when it launched, before they altered the physics. Absolutely adore it. It was up there with Ride 2 in terms of enjoyment level. Whether this can capture that again, I hope so. I really do. But yeah, I'm trying not to be overly critical, as there's not a lot has changed. Again, work in progress. The bikes might feel a lot different when you're actually hands-on. That is always a hard thing to see when you're watching someone else that you don't know. Is he on PlayStation? Is he on Xbox? Is he on PC? Is he using... what assist is he using? It's hard to understand what the bike is doing in that sense, but for the most part, it looks okay. Graphically impressed. I like the graphics. I love the density of the trees. This track here is, I'm going to say it again, looks damn good. I love the waves on the wall then inside as well, to emphasize that with the blue wave circuit. But like, if this is what they made in-house themselves, this track, I tip my hat to them. In fairness, it does look quite good. So I'm going to end it there. Let me know in the comments what is your thoughts and opinions on this. Anything I've missed, anything you want to point out, anything you look like has made a step, anything you're a bit worried about. I want all your feedback in the comments. We're quite a bit away yet from the launch. We're going to get MotoGP 23 in about 2 weeks, so I presume after this gameplay trailer we're not going to get much for another while, because they won't really want to be advertising this over their prototype game, we'll say, the MotoGP game. So I say for now, this is probably the last time we'll see ride gameplay on the channel for the coming weeks and probably a month or two. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you thought of it. Is it an improvement? Is it not? Is it ride 4 with a reskin? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you soon.